Okay, thank you so much to Daniel and to Gabriella and Nathan for reminding us of that wonderful verse from Jeremiah about how God knows the plans that he has for us and how God is for us and no one can stand against us. Things might be hard. Things get hard for the man in our story today, and God doesn't promise that life is going to be easy, but what God does promise is that whatever happens, he will be with us throughout it all. Now, we've been thinking about Abraham for the past couple of weeks, and we know that Abraham's wife was called Sarah, and they had a son called, that's right, he was called Isaac. Now, Isaac grew up and he got married, and this is Rebecca, and he and Rebecca had two sons. They were twins, and they were called Jacob and Esau. And so we're thinking about Jacob today because Jacob then grew up and he had, does anybody know how many sons Jacob had? Yeah, loads. Jacob had 12 sons. Here we have Jacob with his 12 sons. Now, some of you might have heard this story before. One of Jacob's sons was his favourite. Imagine that. Imagine having a favourite son or a favourite child in the family. Well, Jacob had a favourite son, and who was it? His favourite son was Joseph. And we're going to be thinking today about Joseph and how Joseph's brothers were jealous of him. They were jealous of him because he was the favourite. And then they just got really irritated by him because Joseph kept telling his brothers about dreams that he had. And the brothers just got really irritated. And then they decided one day, do you know what, we've had enough of you, Joseph. And yeah, they did something very bad. And poor Joseph ended up in a whole different country far away from his family. But remember our memory verse challenge, that God knows the plans that he has for us. And remember that God has promised that into Abraham's family, at some point, there will be someone who will be a blessing to the whole world. So even though life gets hard for Joseph, and even though life gets hard for Joseph's family, and there's a famine and there isn't enough food, we know that God has made a promise. We know that God has promised Abraham lots and lots of descendants, and sure, Joseph and his family are part of Abraham's family. They are Abraham's descendants. And we know that God has promised that one day the whole world is going to be blessed through Abraham's family. So things will get difficult for this family. Things get really hard for Joseph. But we've got to remember through it all that God has made promises, and that God keeps his promises, and that God knows the plans that he has for all of his people. So we've got a wee video clip coming up now to tell us a little bit more about Joseph and his dreams and how he really irritated his brothers, and we're going to find out a little bit more about what happens. So listen well, and we will chat some more afterwards.